life, right? So the last week I have not been doing well. So really really stressed. Just started therapy again because it's just been overwhelming. Um, so the other day I was at work and I work at well, one of the places I have a contract through is with Donico Pet Clinic. So I'm at work, everything's good. I know I have some CL work later. So I'm like, okay, get done, go up like to North Seattle and get in the truck. And as I'm about there, the engine just seizes up. And I'm like, okay, like I'm on an exit on I-5 and I can't go anywhere and it's overheating and I don't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, let Shelly know where I'm at. And I have to say that being abjectly impoverished for a large portion of my life gives me the ability to do some things that it's just an ability to think through some things. One of the things is that my truck is a manual, so it's a clutch. So I was like, okay, if I can get it to cool down, I can get it to a garage. And oh, just talking about, I'm going to talk about like autumn and all this other stuff. Hi, Omar. I'll dress him good. Hi, Yassine. Hi, Rickson. Hi, Yassine. Karen, Omar, Mattia. Hello, hello. Um, I'm still stressed, Matt. Like I'm still really, really, really stressed. So anyway, I take the truck and I go and I park it in
Oh my
this.
God, so
Yeah, I'm like live right now. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I park it in this. I get it cooled down. I go and get it to this underground garage and go in, decide to let it cool down. I've got antifreeze in the truck. I've got oil, so I'll figure it out in a minute. I ran into Safeway, and I'm like, go get a lunch, go get something to drink, pop it in the truck, and I'm like, okay, it's cooled down enough. Pop the hood, start to put antifreeze in, and no lie, in an underground garage where nobody is, some guy pops up behind me going, I think it might be the radiator. I'm like, I don't know you. Why are you approaching me in a what are you doing, dude? I don't need your help. I don't. Like I that is not what I need right now. But thank you. Thank you so much. I needed that explanation. Um so I pour the antifreeze in and it's like empty, but we changed the hoses. There was no reason for it to be empty, right? And put oil in. I'm like, okay, maybe I can get my outreach done. So get over to this parking lot, realize it's overheating again. Like there is no way, other than in that little sphere, I'm going to be able to do outreach. I'm like, well, I'll push it anyway. I'll go because I'm a CL for the unhoused. So when I do outreach, I have to go and find people, right? Because a lot of times these encampments have been swept, things like that. So go to do that. I look around for a little bit, drive about a mile and a half, and realize this is done. Like I have to get this truck home because it's ended up going to be towed, and there's no way I'm going to pay for a tow truck. I would rather literally abandon it. Um, so I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And it took me 4 hours to get it from North Seattle back home, but I got it back. I kept if you don't know, with a clutch, you can get up to speed, throw it neutral, and turn your vehicle off. And your vehicle will go. And as long as you're going, you can turn it back on. So I did that all the way through downtown and all the way through Soto. I almost didn't make it over the lower bridge. Like people are behind me and I'm going, over this bridge. I'm like, please, please don't seize out. So as I hit the top and came down, I immediately, and again, threw it neutral, turned it off. I ended up having to wait like a block from the house to get it to cool down to even get it in the garage again. So it was just like start and stop, and it was just exhausting. And yeah, now I don't have a vehicle. It's toast. So I got to clean it out and there's like a place that'll come get it, give me a little bit of money and part it out. So that was part of my week. Um, and just trying really hard. It's been like fall is a time that we talk to legislators and that we really push on a national level for these changes in human rights. And so there's all that going on, a new contract, of course, which I love, but it's also hard, right? Like seeing people are bringing in their pets, and I love it. I love it. I love what I do. But sometimes it's hard because you're dealing with sometimes tragedy, right? People come in and then they find out that their pet isn't going to make it and they have to be put down. And that stuff just eats at your soul a little bit. It hurts. It hurts bad. Um, and so then, oh, yeah, before I forget, I would like to say huge thank yous to Web Surfer Guy, Brian with an O, and the rest of you, Mama Mode, the people that have just been like reaching out, sending things. Like, thank you so very much. Like, it's been huge. It really has. And I don't get on to do really unboxings, and I've been just so depressed lately. Um, I'm having a hard time pulling myself out of it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm relying a lot on my medications, of course, but it doesn't stop everything. And so I'm really trying to find, again, still try to find that balance. That I think it's more than a balance thing. I think that it's more that consistently I'm confronted with suffering. But it's fine as long as, you can help these people and things like that. But then you see these like people treating people less than human, just is these horrific acts, right? And after a while, it, I start to get tired, like really tired. Tired not of helping people. That's never what I get tired of. What I get tired of is consistently trying to have to convince others to be kind to people and to operate with a sense of interconnectedness in this world. But consistently having to try to convince people to care about somebody or care about others is wearing. It is tiring. Consistently having to educate people on, the realities and the truth and the facts is exhausting. And I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it in my soul. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stop. Doesn't mean that the work doesn't, like, I'm gonna continue to do the work. But man, even taking a shower is hard. I, I don't know what to do about it. But I'm gonna come on and I'm gonna talk about it because it makes me feel a little better, right? I'll address some more comments. Oh, you don't have to be sorry you asked, Karen. Like, I think everybody goes through bad times, right? Like, I think that that's a thing. And, oh, hi, Mohammed. Greetings from Vancouver. Awesome. Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver, Canada? Because if it's Vancouver, Washington, I actually heard about, we're looking at a thing, and I believe it's Vancouver, where they just opened up an assisted living for those that are unhoused. Ah, Canada, yeah. Okay. You guys are usually on it with some stuff that we're looking at. Oh, Nathan, thank you very much. Hugs from Montana. I actually had my aunt and my two cousins come out from Montana a couple weeks ago. My cousin had an appointment, and so I got to see them. I haven't seen them in years. It's really the only biological family that I know and talk to is those, well, my uncle too, but those three, and we don't talk very often. Like, maybe I talk to Kayla a few times a year, but we don't talk very often. So it was really nice that they felt comfortable enough to know that there was an appointment in Seattle and asked me if they could stay. And I was like, absolutely, 1000%. But it was nice just to know that they feel that way. You have lots of family in Seattle, go Hawks. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not feeling the greatest. And so Okay, I think that's a little better. Um, I love Seattle. I love living here. But I think there's such a false sense of compassion. Like people literally walk over other people in the street. And I was talking in to Donico, and sometimes like you don't even realize that, you've been traumatized. So you're like, I mean, you realize you've been traumatized, but you don't realize that the stories you're telling can be traumatic. And so I was joking around and I was like, you guys ever want a real quiet moment in Seattle? Sit down on the curb and cry. People will avoid you like you were the plague, or they'll just step over you. If you need some alone time, go to the middle of the city and just start crying. You will get all the alone time in the middle of the city you want. And they just looked at me and they're like, that can't be true. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. Like I've done it. Like I've broken down and cried and had people scatter like I was the plague because I was scared or needed help or whatever. I was like, that's a real thing. We joke about it. It's now we can laugh about it and, say things like that, but it's a very real thing. And they were just like so horrified. And I was like, oh, that's like light, guys. Like I don't like I'm not trying to traumatize anybody. I was just like, that's, sense of humor, haha, and it wasn't funny. I think that's called like trauma humor. um, let's see, Omar, it is hard for people to be respectful and kind. Right, and that's because from an early age we are taught, as children, if you need help, go find somebody to help. But as adults, when you ask for help, and especially I've noticed in the United States, and the reason that I say the United States is because I don't travel enough to know that, the subcultures of other countries, but I know here that a lot of times poverty is looked at as a personal failure. We can know that, generational poverty exists, that generational trauma exists. We can know all of that. But when it comes down to it, we form all of our systems around the fact that we believe it's a personal failing. That's why you get very restrictive covenants, rules in like shelters, things like that, almost to the point of infantilization. So, like when I was out there and I needed propane for cooking, I had many people going, "Oh, we can't do that. You could burn something down." And I was like, "You realize, like, I'm an adult and I've cooked outside and I've gone camping. When I this isn't camping, I'm living out here. But like, do you understand that I cognitively have no problem? Like, what are you talking about?" And people would forgo giving you life saving stuff because they believed that because you were out there, you couldn't think clearly. And that was really tough. And I see that happening a lot. So we're really, trying to change that. But I think that that's where the respect thing comes in, right? I think people have a hard time respecting anybody that they feel is trying to get over or not doing their best. And the problem with that is what they're weighing that against. And what they're weighing that against is their own experience. They are totally foregoing this person's individual experience, their experiences, the way that, they were all these things, and they're comparing it to their own. And so what it is a way of not seeing things through the lens of it's sidestepping someone's truth to compare it to yours. And that's I think why people have a lot of times trouble being respectful and kind. Um, you seen, I don't want to see you crying, you're smiling, it's great. I agree with that. I am glad I'm smiling, but I will say I'm very depressed right now. I am struggling with it. I'm gonna be flat out honest about that because I think uh, a lot of people, you see me on here and I'm laughing and I'm smiling and you see my life and most of the time. And yes, for the most part, that is true. But it would be dishonest of me to come on here and pretend that I'm not human and don't just break down at times. There are times that my soul hurts. My heart hurts. And that's part of living, right? We don't get just the joy. We don't get just the beauty. We have to get it all to experience that. We have to also face the tragedy, face the hard things. And, for a long time in my childhood, I was always told, Why aren't you smiling? You should smile more. Smile, 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 smile. And I've learned that the reason for that is for other people's comfort. People feel better, of course, when they're around somebody that's happy. But we don't really know what to do when somebody's exhibiting emotions that we're not comfortable with. And so I hope that by going on here and showing everybody that, here I am doing great, doing my very best, and, you know, things are going great, but I still have some of these emotions and I'm still processing, and I'm still this human that has all of these different characteristics. And so I really want to be just very honest about it and showing people that. Bonjour. Oh, hi, John Wick. Team Karen. But it would be nice if they had jobs that a person could live on. Yes. And that is part of the problem, right? Is that the wages have not gone up according to living costs. So living costs have gone skyrocketing, whereas wage has stagnated. And so we're having an issue where even with 2, 3 jobs, people can't make it. And so that's one thing that's very, very frustrating with dealing with people who are experiencing homelessness and the systems, is that many times the systems are made of community members that don't understand that many of the people experiencing homelessness do work. They are taxpayers. But because of this issue, they're going to lose their job at some point, more than likely, as soon as you become unhoused. And so we're having people that their skills are not being able to compete. They're not in jobs that they're good on, like there's this assumption, like, go get a job, as if every job's the same, every job requires the same skill set, and there's thousands of that one unicorn position for everybody. And that's just not the truth, right? People have different capabilities, people have different skill sets, and not every job, like if you've been a lawyer, or you've been in corporate, you've been all these things, and you go to a gas station to apply, you better not put that on your application, because you're going to be overqualified and they won't hire you. So there's many of these like little things that people judge and they have these attitudes about, and it's like, it's such a what would I call it, like a snap judgment, right? Because a lot of times we're going through life and we have to judge situations, not people, situations, as to the danger, safety, whatever, where we're at, and we do that with snap. And when we do that with people, we forget that there's so many other factors that actually take time to consider. It isn't as simple as just walking up on somebody and knowing the whole situation. There are all these turns and twists that have an impact. There's so much more than just the snap of, oh, this is it, and there we go. Let's see. You explain it very well, Amanda. Thank you. I appreciate that, Matayek. I try. Karen, a big old hug does the trick. What do you think? Sometimes it does. I will say what helps a lot is, honestly, Shelly comes up, and like I called her this morning and she was just getting off work and she's like, I'm on my way. Cause I was just like, I'm done with today and I haven't even woke up. Because I don't know what I'm going through. We got to get some blood tests, but when I'm sleeping, I'm sweating but like it's night sweats, but it's so bad that my whole bed is wet, my fingers are pruny, my hair is wet, and I don't know if like I'm hitting menopause or something, but it's rough. And so I woke up this morning just out of it, feverish, not feeling well, and as soon as I called her, she was like, I'm on my way. And hugs are nice, but I would say the best is to be able to call your person and be like, hey, honestly, I'm not doing well. And they're like, on it, I'm on my way. That to me that'll make me cry in gratitude, which I did this morning. That shouldn't be allowed. Gouging is terrible. Yes, it is. Anonymous, hello. John Wick team. I'm seriously ill when autumn arrives. I like the light. Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. It just seems somehow, and actually, that's what I was gonna talk about when I posted last night. I was like, I wanted to talk about that, like how autumn affects me. Like, I love the colors, but I almost feel like that's when, because like the trees, that's their brightness, right? The leaves just turn these gorgeous bright colors before they fall to the ground and are done. And I'm like, I so feel that. Like, I feel like my brightness went, and now I'm just falling to the ground and being like, I'm done, done. And I know I'm not, but it really, yeah, I was feeling that yesterday. Let's see. I feel you. And for those who don't want to see you cry, you couldn't make her stop because she can't either. Shop with positivity only. Yeah, it's difficult, because people like, okay, getting told as a young person, as an adult, stop crying, don't cry, we don't want to see you cry. I think that for a long time I hid that, right? So I would still cry, but I'd go to the shower to do it so I could be alone, or I'd go hide in a corner so that nobody had to see. And that's what I think is so lovely and wonderful about having these vlogs, right? That are open and honest and sharing your heart and your soul, is that there's no more for the comfort of others. There is just, this is what I am, this is what I'm experiencing, this is who I am. And hopefully I hope that somebody who's feeling the same way can see that and be like, hey, so somebody else is going through this too. And, you know, we can talk about how to work our way out of that and get back to the business of making this world beautiful as we can while we're here. Um, Crying makes you feel better because you express your feelings. Yes, absolutely, 1000%. And and I have to say, the after brain injury, there's a thing called PBA, which is called pseudobulbar affect. And what that does is when you injure certain parts of your brain, you can laugh and cry at inappropriate things. So I can be completely depressed and literally thinking of throwing myself off a bridge, not going to, but I could be there and be laughing. You would never know. Or I could be in crying so hard I can't even think straight, and somebody will tell a joke and it's done. I could be facing horrific things out there and still be smiling, and then come home and watch a funny thing and something will strike me and start bawling. You can't always tell by a smile that somebody's doing okay, is I guess the point of what I was trying to say. Um, are you Arabic? Yes. Well, welcome. um, yeah, so I just wanted to get on and touch base with you guys, let you know that everything's good. Like, the truck isn't. The truck is bad. The truck broke down. And I will be saving up for a new vehicle. It'll come, and we do have good transit, so I will. And I did a study for Orca Lift, and they sent me a Orca Lift card. So, yay. So I will be riding the bus. And that's not a bad thing. Like, I guess everything is good. Everything is good. Um, but I'm feeling the effects of the things that aren't so good. So that's what's going on. Anybody have any questions or anything that they want to discuss? I don't think I've asked that. I'm like, oh, yes. So while you're thinking about that, I wanted to tell you too. So I am trying, not good at it very often, but in the descriptions, if you scroll through all the, like, this is how you help out the channel, at the bottom of the description is links to nonprofits that do really good work. So, and they're all ones that, except for Angel Resource Connection, which I found out about. She came by. She was just an amazing program. The rest of them, I'm all heavily involved with. So, yeah, check those out. Let's see. Hi, that one girl. Karen, you did that the first time when you were on with Mark. You were up trying to smile and be happy from the camera, Mark, but you were crying on the inside. Yes. And that is something that like gets pointed out on that video a lot, is that I was crying with no tears. And my eyes were tearing a little bit, but I don't think people realize what dehydration will do to you. The fact that there is no just water when you want it. I always kind of laugh at that because people forget, like again, snap judgments. And yes, my emotions are all over the place. I am bipolar with head injuries. I am medicated and that is just the way it is. I like that is me. That is who I am. And so, when I'm crying, I am crying. But I'm so dehydrated that it just was crazy. Yeah. Heartbreaking video. Yeah, I'll be honest, I've watched it a couple times after and I get choked up. I get choked up more like seeing, it's almost like being a different person and just wanting to go give me a hug. And also knowing what it was like in that moment and just how broken I was and trying to hold it together. And so yeah, I get really emotional about that video too. And the things that weren't said, the things that I didn't say. Um, yeah. So yeah, that was a hard one to do too. It is not easy to have this happen to you. When you said Karen, I was like, yeah, then I realized the comment under me was another Karen. Yeah. Alaska is still a nice thing. I hope you will do a trip like that again. Yeah, Alaska was beautiful and I did love it. And I was so thankful that I was asked to go. It really was just phenomenal. My goal now, for traveling is really, I need to get my passport. But a lot of my traveling is probably going to be for work. I know I'm going back to DC in March, and there's a couple other ones. A lot are still virtual, so that's good. But when I do go, I won't know until I do it because I'm just gonna look for like cheap flights and stuff. The hardest thing is I live in Seattle, so like anything in Europe is like a whole like going across the entire United States and we're big. Like this is thousands upon thousands and thousands of miles. Um, let's see. Um, there's been a few videos that I felt you were hurting inside. Yep. I try to share. I do. Sometimes like this last week, I was really depressed and I just couldn't make myself come share. But feeling better today, so I thought today would be a good day for that. Um, okay, bye, Anonymous. Matayek, visit Sweden. I'd love to. That whole area is very, very beautiful. Um, Omar, how long have you been struggling with mental health? Since I was a child. And yes, the medication did make it better. However, I will say that it took a long time to quit being gaslighted. It took a long time to find the right meds. I gave up on medications probably 10 times before the right one was found. So it was really a process. And I'll kind of just lay out the history, right? So as a child, a very young child, from the time I was, barely a toddler, I was horrifically sexually and physically assaulted. So when I went into foster care, they I started therapy and things like that. That was a requirement. And so I was diagnosed with PTSD, which we now know I have complex PTSD, which is when you've been exposed not just to one trauma, but consistent years of trauma. And you never like get a break. And so then when I went into foster care, throughout the years, it started getting worse. And I come from a family that has a biological history or a physiological history of um, autoimmune disorders, mental illness, all of these things, right? And so then as I started coming into an adult, I was embarrassed. I was humiliated and ashamed by not being okay mentally. And that led to several suicide attempts. Um, and that carried on. And finally, after my brain injuries, after everything, I just lucked upon this one psychiatrist that had a person that was who also had TBIs, that was experiencing a lot of the same things I was going through, and they were on this one med. So she tried this med for me. It's called Vibrid or Vilazodone, and it was a lifesaver. And then as when I came to Seattle and I got everything kind of got into neurology, got into neurological rehab, got into psychiatry therapy, everything else, we found a good mix of medicines to make sure that I can live as and thrive as much as I can. So I am now at a stage where I feel like I'm killing it. I feel like I'm doing the better than I've done in my entire life, even for being injured and even for being off that bipolar. Um, but that is due to medications, but it's also due to cognitive behavioral therapy. Understanding the behaviors, like, because the thing is a lot of times it would like talk therapy, it'd be like, yeah, I'm doing this because of this, and then go on to this tangent. And it's like, it doesn't matter why you have a behavior or not. It really doesn't. The why is, as long as the why is resolved, like you're out of the situation, that doesn't matter. What matters is how do you correct the behavior that is there. And so I study my behavior, I study my thoughts. I am constantly thinking about, am I rationality, um, emotionality, like all of these things are constantly what's going on in my head is judging. This is about the only time. And actually, when I shut off the video, when I stop live, when I stop talking to you guys, I obsess a little bit about, did I say something right? Did I do, was my, whatever. But this is one time I don't care. I'm just going to come on and be me. But it's a constant fight. It's a constant battle. Mental illness is hard. Um, this area would be even more beautiful with unit. Thank you. Is it chronic? It will be a lifetime. I will be on medication for my entire life, yes. My health problems are chronic. So I have AS, which is ankylosing spondylitis. I have fibromyalgia, endometriosis, glaucoma, and uveitis. So I'm pretty much a hot mess. Like, I always feel like I am the epitome of you look fine. And I understand that, but some of the things going on in this body are crazy. And it doesn't, and then you get mental illness to boot. It can be a little difficult. And also what's really difficult about it is arranging a work schedule to fit it, right? Because you have to stay healthy in order to work, and you have to work in order to be healthy, because and so it's like trying to balance that and balance around all of these things is really difficult. But I'm very lucky because I was able to find what's like niche employment, right? Being a contractor and working for myself, to where I can balance that. And that is super important. And I do try to talk to other people about doing that and answer any questions they have and talk to a lot of providers about that. Because when we're telling people to quote unquote get a job, that may not be the best thing for them. Maybe the best thing for them is to be an independent contractor. Maybe the best thing for that, maybe that's what's going to make the difference in their lives, is being able to schedule, their skills around the things that are going on with them health wise. That one girl, the huge part of people on this planet have had some level of mental health issues. Sometimes they're just too hard to handle without help. Yes, there is a lot of, when we look at mental health issues, yes, you are right. Would like to say severe mental illness is a little different. um, the majority of people who, struggle with mental health from time to time will not may not develop long-term severe mental illness. And it's really important to understand that some of these illnesses, if left untreated, will absolutely cause death, early death. I mean, life causes death, we all die, but it'll cause early death. And so it's super important to have people understand that some of these illnesses are pretty severe. Yep. I completely shut down because of my depression. I won't even shower sometimes. Yes, and I said that earlier in the vlog. Yeah, like showering seems to be too much. Cooking for myself seems to be too much. Vacuuming, cathartic. Love vacuuming. Who knows? But yeah, things get really tough, and taking care of yourself, like myself, just seems to be too much because I've worn myself out and my cup is empty from trying to take care of everyone and everything else. So, anyway, guys, I appreciate you tons. I can hear Rowan whining at the door. She wants to come in and cuddle. So, well, actually, she doesn't want to cuddle. I lie. She just wants to go and sit down on the couch and just give me eyes. She's not a cuddler, just like me. All right, guys. I just thank you. Thank you guys for letting me come on here and share and just being wonderful and understanding. So thank you, and I will talk to you all later. Sending tons of love, and thank you all for your support. And again, web server guy Brian with the O and Mama Mode. Special thanks for the cards and the gifts and all of that. It just thank you. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.